Okay, let's dive right into this. We're looking at a super high stakes confrontation between the United States and Iran, where honestly, one wrong move could change everything. It's like a geopolitical chessboard where both sides are aggressively pushing their pieces forward, and the risk of a devastating miscalculation, well, it's dangerously high. So we're jumping in with the situation already at a boiling point. And this isn't just political talk. We're talking about real military hardware, aircraft carriers, advanced missiles, all being moved into position. It's pushing the entire region closer and closer to a real conflict. And this warning, right here from Iran's top military commander, it really sets the stage. The message from Tehran is crystal clear. There is no such thing as a small, contained attack. You hit them, even in a limited way, and they will treat it as the first shot in a much, much wider war. Now, in response to what it calls rising threats, the U.S. has moved a truly formidable force into the region. I mean, we're talking about the USS Abraham Lincoln Aircraft Carrier Battle Group. Extra air power, top-of-the-line air defense systems, it's a very clear and powerful signal of military readiness. And Tehran's response? It's just as blunt. They've made it perfectly known they are not just going to take a punch and stand there. They are signaling loud and clear that they're ready to use their entire arsenal in retaliation. For them, this isn't just another standoff. They believe their very survival is on the line. But here's where things get really complicated, At the very same time all this military muscle is flexing, there's this other thing happening in the background: diplomacy and intense economic pressure. It's a classic carrot and stick approach, but it's playing out on a massive global scale. You can just see the mixed signals so clearly here. On one side, you have President Trump talking up diplomacy, saying talks are going very good. But on the other side, his administration is tightening this economic noose with what they call maximum pressure sanctions, designed to absolutely cripple Iran's oil exports. It's basically an offer to talk, backed up by a giant economic hammer. So this all leads to a really crucial question. Is there a massive gap between all this tough talk coming out of Washington and the actual military reality on the ground? I mean, does the U.S. really have the force in place to back up its most aggressive threats? Let's just look at some of the most extreme goals being talked about publicly. Some people are calling for nothing less than full-on regime change. But what would a mission like that actually take in terms of military force? And this right here is where you see a huge disconnect. According to military analyst Lieutenant Colonel Daniel Davis, to pull off something like destroying Iran's entire military and leadership, you'd need over 300,000 ground troops and massive sustained air power. The forces deployed right now, they're just a tiny fraction of that. So the bottom line is, trying to pull off an enormous mission like that with way too few forces is, in the words of Colonel Davis, setting yourself up for a lot of trouble. It creates this incredibly dangerous scenario where you could start a war that you just don't have the resources to finish on your own terms. Okay, so let's flip the script for a second and look at Iran's strategy. How do they plan to counter a technologically superior enemy? Well, they know they can't win a straight-up head-to-head fight. So instead, they're focused on changing the rules of the game with what's called asymmetric warfare. A huge piece of this strategy is their advanced missile arsenal. I mean, take a look at the Hormshah 4. We're talking about a ballistic missile with a 2,000-kilometer range that travels at hypersonic speeds. We're talking Mach 16. It's designed to hit U.S. bases with pinpoint accuracy before they can even be intercepted. But Iran's strategy isn't just about big, fancy missiles. It's also about overwhelming enemy defenses with pure, unadulterated chaos, especially at sea and the tight quarters of the Persian Gulf. And here's how it works. Imagine dozens of small, fast, and heavily armed speedboats all rushing a massive U.S. warship from every direction at once. The goal is simple: create way more targets than the ship's advanced defense systems can possibly track and engage at one time. It's designed to turn the warship's greatest strength, its technology, into a critical weakness. Of course, this whole standoff isn't happening in a vacuum, right? It's not just about Washington and Tehran. There are other powerful players watching very closely, and in some cases, actively trying to influence the situation. And that just adds whole new layers of complexity. This timeline really shows you just how fast things can turn. The moment President Trump even hints at a softer negotiating stance, like maybe dropping demands about Iran's missile program, key allies react instantly. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu immediately announces an urgent trip to Washington, and you can bet it's to reinforce a hardline position. And this is where the long-term picture gets even crazier. While the US is focused on Iran, other global powers are making their own moves. China, for instance, has unveiled concepts for a massive space warship. Now, it's theoretical, sure, but as one expert put it, it's literally Star Wars stuff. It's a reminder that any big conflict in the Middle East could create openings for other powers to push their own strategic goals forward. And that leaves us with the central, terrifying question of this whole crisis. You have two sides, and each one seems absolutely convinced that their pressure, their threats, and their military posturing will force the other guy to back down. It is a massive, high-stakes gamble where the cost of being wrong could be a truly devastating regional war. The only question is, who's misread the situation?